This might be the most ridiculous video idea I ever made, but I guess here we are. What's up, everybody? This is Willie, and today, I'm back with another Backyardigans video, but definitely not a normal one, I should say, because here I am making a ranking video on Pablo's panic attacks. Like, actually, this is seriously the most silliest video idea I have that I think it would be fun to do. So, I shall preface how I'm gonna do this kind of ranking, because this sort of ranking is not based on like my personal bias or which one I enjoyed better. It's based on how much I like this segment in terms of its thematic purposes and how well it progresses the story. Does it do it in an interesting way? And to further emphasize on that, the theme of what Pablo's panic attack is where we obviously know he undergoes a moment where he spirals when he faces like a hurdle, and that would lead to his friends being the ones to calm him down and then find a resolution to the issue. So that alone is what the theme I'm going to conjunction in this ranking, as it's always intended for Pablo's friends to chill him out and help conceive a solution. And furthermore, when it comes to like the obstacles slash hurdles that causes Pablo to spiral, I'll be putting the ranking based on the gravitas the obstacle has, whether the level, like say critical danger or any sort of issue it imposes is necessary for Pablo to freak out over. Like, that's going to also be a major factor on this ranking too. So with everything that I vocalized on my criteria of this list, I guess here we go with the ranking. So at the bottom ranking, it's Pablo's freakout from the swamp creature, which, don't get me wrong, on paper, it's not even that bad, but from a thematical standpoint, it does pertain to its fundamental issues, where yes, Pablo's freakout is justified, but the fact that Uniqua is trying to calm him down only to then freak out alongside with him just sort of takes away the whole purpose of what these segments are supposed to be, and considering there's no such resolution to this, it does wane down on my more general ranking of this freakout moment. Not to say it's not without its fun moments, because they are all pertain to these comedic sort of vibe. Like, this one is not that bad on that front. And also, if you were to pay attention, you would have a humorous visual of Austin literally capturing their freakout on his camcorder and just following them around as they run away, which that's just hilarious. And Austin just did it because he knows how awesomely bad they were. But yeah, on paper, not even that bad of a moment, but it is mostly harmed from a more thematical standpoint of the principles of these moments and what their resolution is.
Oh boy, the swamp creature! It's Pablo. Real! It's really real! Pablo. There really is a swamp creature! Pablo! Yeah?
Ranking at 23, I've got Pablo's, I guess, semi-freak out from Surf's Up. And okay, this is the thing. This one's one where it doesn't necessitate him freaking out in a more negative way. He is having this kind of moment while expressing this excitement. And yes, I can feel for his excitement in this spot. However, from a more general standpoint, it is out of touch with the themes of what his freakouts are supposed to be, where the whole gravitas it has is how much he overreacts for something that is not good. And this is a situation where it's on the opposite spectrum, which fundamentally does knock this down a lot near the bottom of the ranking. The only reason I have it above Swamp Creature is at least by the fact that his friends do try to calm him down by basically getting him to tone down his excitement. But still, this one didn't feel like the most necessary in that spot, and unfortunately loses some of its luster because there's basically no resolution to this either.
We found it! We're here! We found Tiki Beach! I can't believe it! This is incredible! It's Tiki Beach. Everybody stay calm. We found Tiki Beach! We found Tiki Beach! We found Tiki Beach! Dude! Yeah?
Ranking at number 22, we have Pablo's freakout from The Flipper, the only one from season 4 and the last one to occur ever in the franchise. And like I said, if this was a more biased ranking, I would definitely have this more higher because of how much of a refreshing callback it was when it was in conjunction of Pablo's development over the course of the series. But to make it more practical, this one is on the bottom as well because it's just not having that gravitas to what Pablo's freakout moments are supposed to be, where he has to be one in the wrong for overreacting and having his friends calm him down and conceive a resolution. And with this moment, it is on par with Surf's Up, where it's a freakout in a more exciting way. But I think what really puts this above Surf's Up is because, at least for this resolution, it does lead to something disastrous, even though his freakout is not directly because of that. So at least there is more merit to this one, but it's still not enough to keep it from being among the bottom rankings on this list.
There's a meteor heading for Earth! I can't believe it!
Pablo!
I finally get to use the rocket racket! Pablo! I've been waiting and waiting for this moment, and now it's here! Pablo! Yeah?
Now at number 21, we have his panic attack from Catch That Butterfly, which from here on out, this one the rankings become more close to each other because they have that gravitas and rightfully plays into the themes of what these segments are supposed to entail. But for Catch That Butterfly, I think it's the one that has the least amounting to it and just comes off more less disastrous because it's only a butterfly on Pablo's beak, not like something where he would freak out because there's something dangerous happening or basically anything that isn't going his way. While for this one, in particular with the context of the episode, he was supposed to catch that butterfly and now he has the opportunity to get that butterfly, but he's just wasting his time freaking out instead of taking the time to catch it in the jar, which, don't get me wrong, we do have a fun visual of Uniqua and Tyrone just being over it immediately as they calm down Pablo to get him back to his senses. So at least there's that, and plus also capturing the sentiment of what Pablo's freakouts are supposed to mean, but just having the least amount of steam to it, considering it's not as necessary compared to the other ones above it.
Oh my, it is the butterfly, right before my very nose, right on my very nose.
Professor Pablo.
Where's my jar? Where's my net? I must catch it.
Professor Pablo?
I must catch the gilded golden butterfly. Oh boy, oh boy.
Professor Pablo.
Yes?
And ranking at number 20, I'm starting with the first of two freakout moments from the same episode, which is Pirate Treasure, but I'm going to go with the second one where Pablo was starting to panic when the treasure chest was no longer to be seen, even though they had literally just buried it. But yeah, it's just another one that kind of felt a bit unnecessary, also just making Pablo come off fluctuant in this position. Plus also the context of it is not as intriguing or adding much more gravity to the circumstances of his freak out because it was just a simple misunderstanding that easily just happened in the blink of an eye. Now the upsides here is this is the first panic attack that originates the theme music of when Pablo starts to overreact, which I always love the rhythm to it, evoking that dodo-ish rhythm to in a way give this comedic vibe to the whole segment. That is an appeal to it, but everything else, and with the context of it not being as sobering, does land this one on this ranking of the list.
Uh-oh. Where is it? It was right here a second ago.
Pablo.
Yeah?
It's right here.
So ranking at number 19, it's going to be Pablo's freakout from The Legend of the Volcano Sisters, because it's another one that stems from a more of a misunderstanding perspective, not adding too much of weight to it. In addition, I also think this might be the most rushed freakout moment from Pablo in this series ever because it pretty much occurs less than 5 seconds because Tyrone calms him down within the first peep that comes out of his mouth. If we look at this from a more contextual standpoint, it is kind of a life and death situation as the Volcano Sisters are about to erupt the volcano if they're not ambiguously given what they want. And as the suspense builds, after Austin gives them flowers as an invitation to their luau, the sisters will say mahalo, and this factors into another sequence where Pablo comes off very fluctuant as he seemed to have forgot that mahalo means thank you, which is a positive thing. But in that light, it does elevate this on the ranking above the previous because the context of what could have happened is justified for him to freak out on paper, but in the reality of why he did does lessen the impact of this one.
Oh no, mahalo, mahalo! Pablo!
So now at number 18, I have Pablo's panic attack from Key to the Nile because, quite frankly, he unnecessarily overreacted by the sight of an invisible pyramid when it's like, that's the whole point of it being hidden. Like, I mean, technically this could be ranked lower than the Volcano Sisters because the context of it is not as severe, but at the same time, I think what puts this above is the fact that he at least is not freaking out because he misunderstands a phrase. He's more so freaking out by the circumstance of what an invisible pyramid can impose, even though he is ridiculous about it too. I still do get joy out of this, don't get me wrong, especially with the fun visual of him holding those plate of sandwiches as he starts flipping out, but it's the quality of the seriousness that is not all there that drops him down pretty low on the ranking.
Boy, oh boy, the pyramid. No wonder we couldn't see it. The pyramid is invisible. You can't see it. You can look right through it.
Pablo.
You can't see it at all. It's invisible. It's an invisible pyramid.
Pablo.
Yeah?
Next up, ranking at 17, I have his panic attack from Castaway, which funnily, I kind of forget that he did have one in this episode, but it's just fine in a more thematical lens. Like, it is necessary to panic at the feeling that someone else is on the island who theoretically could be a threat towards you guys, and especially by the fact that they had some sort of interaction around your base, it definitely does warrant a little fear in you. But likewise, what keeps this pretty low is that the quality of its weight to it is not as significant, and because there was no direct threat or force, more so a speculation, it's just kind of lame in that light. So the lack of danger and because the quality of it not being as critical, it does land its spot here on the ranking.
Oh, they're right inside.
Pablo.
They're in there. They're right inside. They're right inside. Don't lose your heads.
Pablo.
We'll see who it is. We're going to see who it is. Stay calm.
Pablo.
Yeah?
And another episode just like this at number 16, I'm having Newsflash, which I did kind of contemplate on should I even include this one on the list, considering Pablo wasn't really like mumbling to himself as he was freaking out. He was just screaming. But you know what? I decided screw it, put it on the list, especially since that compilation video on YouTube did include it. So I decided let's just stay consistent with it and put this on the ranking. And me having it ranked at 16 is mostly stems from the fact that it's just like Castaways. His freak out is more so by speculation of a potential threat. And then in that case, Pablo was freaking out by the talk of a potential alien being involved. It is a fun freak out, but does it value much to the grand scheme of the gravitas with these kind of segments? No. It just mostly lands on the average scale.
A flying saucer! A flying saucer! A flying saucer landed in our cornfield!
That's right, folks. A flying saucer landed right here in this local cornfield. This is Reporter Uniqua, WIOA News.
Cut!
We've got to get this back to the studio and do a special report.
It's a news flash!
Jumping to ranking 15, and I'm gonna rank his flip out from Snowfort episode, which to disclose something, I had this one a lot higher in the ranking, but as I start to assess the list more and recognizing the gravitas it pertained, it did plummet this one significantly down just because it's another one that is more of a misinterpretation of a potential force or threat that could impact him in many ways. Like, this is exactly in line with the previous two that I had just talked about, but I think the quality of it has a lot more higher highs than the previous episodes, plus practically in the context, there's more justifications because the snow fart is exhibiting a giant snowball that realistically could be stolen if those figures Pablo saw are actually thieves, even though they're not. But it's mostly the narrative from the episode that gives this episode a slight edge over the other two, but still not enough to keep it from plummeting down on the ranking.
Uh-oh. Look! Raiders! They want to take our snowball! Don't panic, Tyrone!
Pablo.
Just stay calm!
Pablo.
Call the Mounties!
Pablo.
Yeah?
Now ranked at 14, it's going to be the one from Knights and Brave and Strong, which technically this is the first one that is directly factored by the fear of something severe that's about to happen. And this is the case when Pablo starts to freak out over the boulder he's standing on, sinking even faster as he's trying to use it to get across the swamp. But the flaws with this one is that the seriousness with this tends to be way too over-exaggerated, since Pablo didn't need to freak out when he could have just hopped across right away instead of wasting time panicking and standing on the sinking boulder instead of proceeding, which his friends have to point that out to him. Like, the quality of it is not bad, and it does fit in line with the tropes of what these segments are intended to mean, but we're looking at this more objectively, and this one loses its luster from the context of it. So overall, the freakout is okay, but still not enough weight to it to put it higher than it should be.
Oh my gosh! Uh-oh! Oh no, it's sinking too fast! We're never gonna make it! We're gonna get covered in stinky swamp stuff! We have to go back! Pablo! Yeah?
So now to rank 13, and it's going to be Cave Party, and it's another one that I did have high on the list, but dropped it down after reassessing the list more coherently, and this one unfortunately suffers a similar case with the previous episode, where his freakout is factored in by something that is impacting them at the moment. We're contextualizing it. He alongside his friends have to make their way up top a tall mountain, and the height of it is what makes him freak out, because that's a lot of traveling to do to reach the top. But I think the force that it exudes is potentially the least intriguing, since the resolution does end up being very simplistic by the end of it, not adding much suspense or whatsoever. So that does knock this down a tad low on the list, edging it at least at rank 13.
At the top? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. How are we gonna get up there?
Pablo.
Look at it! It's the size of a mountain! It is a mountain!
Pablo.
Stay calm, everybody. Don't lose your heads. We'll find a way up. We'll find a way.
Pablo.
Yeah?
Now at number 12, it's Pablo's Panic Attack from High Tea, and this is one that has more better gravitas to it because the contribution to his worries stem from the distance of the gusher, which could potentially rumble to its fullest amount, resulting on them missing out on the water they need and waiting out the following day in order to try again. And in a spot where they want to get the mission done that day is definitely reasonable, and I think the force that it imposes does add more seriousness to Pablo's panic. But the downsides of this is not really necessarily its quality or anything, because it is one that has a lot of weight to it. It's just one that is mostly on the average spectrum much more than the higher caliber, especially comparing to the ones that are ranked above it, which that might be the trend as we move along with this ranking. But yeah, this one is mostly solid, just being more of the lesser caliber of these segments.
Wait until tomorrow. Oh boy, the guys are only gushers once a day.
Pablo.
Everybody stay calm, be cool. This was just the first rumble.
Pablo.
That was the first rumble. Only 2 more rumbles. How are we gonna get there in only 2 rumbles? Pablo. Yeah?
So now rank 11, the panic attack that I put in this spot is riding the range. Because it's another one that is highly solid, definitely giving off more gravity because of Pablo's fear of potentially separating from his horse friend Old Paint. And the suspense surrounding it is partially thrilling, but I do think resolution-wise, kind of tame that he ends up getting Old Paint back immediately. Not like I have anything against it, but it just feels like Pablo does overreacted a bit too soon in that spot. So this is mostly the downside that puts this on this spot on the ranking. On top of that, still not a high caliber segment that adds such higher tension suspense in that light.
Oh man, I lost my horse. Oh no, what are we going to do? I'm a cowboy without a horse.
Pablo.
Who ever heard of a cowboy without a horse? What am I going to do? Yeah?
So now ranking at number 10, I have his panic attack from Polka Palace Party, which this is another case where Pablo ends up freaking out over losing something which would be his and everyone else's instruments. But what makes this more valid and higher is that the resolution to this is that when they finally reach the Cheyenne, they would find their instruments there, giving us a nice surprise. And I think that really adds to the level of gravitas with this sort of hurdle that Pablo freaked out over. And it's totally necessary too, considering you're going to be playing those instruments at the birthday party, and with you losing them essentially puts you in a very conflicting situation. I think a lot of what happened during that moment and afterwards brought a lot of thrill and suspense, but the obstacle itself is just not that high of a caliber that makes this anywhere closer to the top, so this is why I have it ranked at number 10.
All of our instruments are on the rack.
Pablo.
My accordion's on the rack. My accordion. Pablo? It's going to go over the waterfall. It's going to go over the waterfall. Pablo.
So ranking at number 9, Race to the Tower of Power. This is one in the context of Pablo obviously being the villain that's rivaling against the superhero, but to give more matters on the practicality standpoint, with his freakout stemming from the circumstance of him and Tyrone being stuck on a broken iceberg, which is thanks to Uniqua's superpower that caused it to happen like that. And for him to panic because of that, on top of it, I would say the fear of the heroes winning, it definitely propels the quality level of this freakout segment, but it's mostly on the lower ends because the resolution of it does remain simplistic, especially in the context that they have superpowers that can easily just cater towards them to resolve their issues. So that makes it not as suspenseful in the grand scheme of things, but it is still a competent segment that works well with the themes, just not on that higher level.
No. Oh no. They're getting ahead of us. We're going backward. They're going forward.
Pablo.
Yup. They're going to get there first. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Pablo.
Yeah?
Now at number 8, it's Pablo's freakout from the Flying Rock, and it's still very sensible as a freakout segment just because in the context of what just happened with the 4 friends potentially breaking apart a very special stone that has a lot of value to it, and having it be split apart is definitely one to freak out over because you are responsible for what just happened to it. And the problem solving situation here is a lot more suspenseful, as to be fair, it could come off a bit simplistic as they're just going to piece the thing back together, but I think what adds to it is that while doing so, they're also prompting its flying power to occur, which causes all the 4 of them to fly with it, which I shouldn't really be going on a spiel about the aftermath portion, but I think it's an example of thrilling suspense that does reduce the simplicity with its resolution, does factor in the strong uprising with this panic attack moment in this episode.
Oh no, this is not good. Oh no, we broke the flying rock. Oh no.
Pablo.
You will never see it fly. Oh man, never. It will never fly.
Pablo.
It's not a flying rock anymore. Oh man.
Pablo.
So at 7, the freakout moment that warrants this spot is the one from Secret Agents, which now we get into one that has the most gravity to really glean on and justifies a lot of Pablo's freakouts in these spots. But for this one in particular, it's one where in the context of them being agents who have all these unique devices that can help them anyway, it feels like Pablo kind of forgot about utilizing them in the spot where he, Tyrone, and Uniqua were trapped in a cage. But if we were to remove all of the context of that, it does have a bit more impact because of basically how trapped they were, which could have been a disastrous mission for them. So it does add to a lot of the realism with his freakout in a potential scenario where they weren't as prepared, which although the episode doesn't emphasize on that, I can bring something like that up to give more of the credence to this freakout moment.
Duh.
Uh-oh, we're trapped. Secret agents should never get trapped.
Pablo.
Don't panic. Stay calm.
Pablo.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Pablo.
Yeah?
So next up, we have the moment of Pablo flipping out in Eureka, which is landed at number 6. And this is a strange one considering I sometimes do look at Eureka as probably among one of the most forgettable episodes from the show. But let's just talk about it in context. With a river now starting to emerge because of a little mistake that was caused, it did separate Pablo from his pack for a bit, and setting in that reality does cause him to freak out, and the logistics of it is pretty solid. It's one where there's a relentless force that's potentially splitting you from your group, and furthermore, it's also slowly going to worsen from there. Adding to the suspenseful nature of it, though it's still one that doesn't reach the higher highs, plus also the resolution to it ends up being the fact that Pablo is on the side with his horse, who does contain a boat inside of the bag, so that does partially take away most of its impact, but it's still a fun one and continues to maintain its suitability with the themes of Pablo's panic attacks.
Nobody panic. Stay calm. Stay perfectly calm. Everything's okay.
Castillo Pablo.
Oh boy. Don't lose your head. It's going to be all right.
Castillo
Nothing's breaking. It's
Pablo.
under control. Totally under control. Stay calm. Castillo Pablo. Yep.
Now we're at the top 5 with Pablo's freakout sequence from Heart of the Jungle at number 5. And to make this all worth, this is the one where technically Pablo is not directly in grave danger, but it is someone else that he's close with who is. So for some recap, Unico ends up stepping in quicksand and is starting to sink into it. And by the side of his friend whose life is about to be accosted by quicksand, he starts to freak out, which is a fair reason to. So it does make this one a lot more competent, and with Tyrone and Austin being able to calm Pablo down so he can help them pull Unico out. Which, to touch on that, it's one where during Pablo's panic, Tyrone and Austin already resolved the issue by using the stick that Austin got earlier. So it doesn't play out with them first calming down Pablo and then finding a solution. They already found it during his freakout, which is a little bit conflicting for me, but also on the grounds of it not being Pablo directly affected by it, and with the rest of his freakouts remaining on the list being ones where he was affected by a dangerous force, it does put this one below those.
Oh no, it's quicksand. Don't worry, Uniqua. We'll get you out.
You guys.
Okay.
I'm
We're going
sinking over
Stay
here.
calm. Okay.
Hey, you still got your stick?
Okay.
You
Don't worry.
betcha.
Don't worry. Stay calm.
Pablo,
Yeah?
come on.
Okay.
Number 4 is Pablo's panic from Race Around the World. And this was one that really stuck to my mind, and also I've seen clips of it frequently used online with Pablo just frantically saying help, 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 which I never really emphasized much on the dialogue he delivers during these freakouts, but I think this one has a lot of a distinction to it since he's just saying the same word repeatedly, giving a lot of nuance to it. But also contextually, it's valid to freak out, especially since he's dangling off a cliff, hanging on to a bended sign that could potentially lose its grip within minutes. So that does hold a lot of impact with this segment. Plus, it is, like I said, him being directly affected by a dangerous force, which embraces a lot of the nail biter with this segment. However, I think the resolution of it just loses that suspense since Austin easily helps him up by using his rope. But either way, this one was seriously one of the most memorable to me, and it's definitely on a higher caliber, but just not enough to crack the top 3.
Pablo! Help! Pablo! Yeah?
So now at number 3, I'm shockingly having his freakout moment from Caveman's Best Friend, which is the only one from season 3, which is another one that was giving us a nice callback to his panic, so that was refreshing. Which is obviously the same for the flipper, but obviously what makes this one better is because Pablo's freakout stems from him being directly affected by the grave danger he's in. Plus, to add more amusement, he plays the role as a cop too, so that generally just strips him from all the characteristics of his professionalism in that role. But yeah, with him alongside his friends trapped on top of a fire truck that is sinking in tar pits, it makes things a lot more nail-biting, and I love the suspension it exudes. However, what necessarily puts this below the other two is that I don't think it's as big of a highlight as it could be, where it's just one that is not as highly talked about, and plus also, I do think the forces on the other two having more tension to it makes it more exciting than this one in certain ways. So this is why I end up having to put this at number 3.
Oh boy, this is bad. Stuck in a tar pit, sinking fast. Nobody to pull us out. We're doomed. I never thought this is the way I'd go.
Officer Pablo!
Yeah?
You're not helping.
So the segment that ends up being the runner-up on this ranking happens to be Vikings, which I'm certainly shocked by, but it's obviously one that has a dangerous force affect Pablo to really freak out. And although I will mention that his freak out takes place before they reach the danger zone, it's still one that has a lot of justifications to it and brings more intrigue for what they can do to maneuver around the danger that they would end up immersing themselves in. And to emphasize, Pablo sees the whirlpool that his ship is about to approach, and he starts to go nuts as there's no way they can maneuver around it, adding to a lot of the thrill leading up to it. I like this one a lot, satisfies the themes of these sort of segments with his friends calming him down and resolving the issue in a fun and interesting way. But I think what puts this at number 2 is that the resolution is not really focused on Pablo overcoming what he was fearful of. It's more so a group thing of just them having to hold tight on the ship as they start swirling around the whirlpool. So with that aspect, it does gravely put this at number 2.
Really, really, really whirly.
Pablo.
Stay calm. Don't worry. Nobody panic. Figure it out.
Pablo.
We got through the stormy rocky regions. Pablo. Yep.
So I cannot believe this one is at number 1 because this one does have a bit of flaws with it too, but in terms of how it fits in with the themes and the coronation it gives to Pablo afterwards, I think it gives me enough of the reason to have the first pirate treasure panic attack from Pablo be number 1, which is also the first ever one we had. But basically, he and his pirate friends need to cross on a log over a muddy pit, so it wouldn't be bad on paper, all you need is balance. However, for Pablo's sake, because he's a pirate that has a pegged leg, it's certainly going to be a huge challenge for him, and when he starts to freak out, I really love this raw moment we're having where he's just really panicking at the fact that he is going to fall because of the disadvantage he has, which is totally reasonable and justifiable. And in a way, the lack of theme does partially take away some of the fun out of this. I still think the whole gravitas with this is absolutely perfection. And to add on top of that with the resolution, he's able to have this individual coordination moment where he's able to get across despite the wonkiness with his peg leg, which almost causes him to fall off, but he's able to hold his balance and make his way to the other side. And so the thrilling nature right there, alongside the original aspects intertwined with the context, does significantly bolster this segment to be number 1 on this ranking.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Pablo.
How am I gonna get across?
Pablo.
Oh boy. I don't know about
Hello.
this. Oh boy.
Pablo.
Yeah?
So that's the video for you. What a video that was. But anyway, like always, I will continue making content on this channel in relation to coverage on televised media. And if you look forward to seeing more stuff like this, I would recommend you subscribe and tap that like so you won't miss out on anything in the near future. So with that, thank you very much and I appreciate you all tuning in.